All right, good afternoon. It is officially 1 o'clock Eastern time. We happen to be on the East Coast, so we are going to get these things started off here. For those of you joining us for the first time, we are going to be doing our Tech Talk today. And basically, what the Tech Talk is a monthly Zoom event that is hosted by our company, Axoft. And we try and go over topics that are interesting to companies that have deskless workers. So any company that has a mobile environment, we get people working remote, people out in the field, any types of companies that are like that. So we try to create topics that we can talk about in a nice conversational manner on how the possibility of going with a digital solution for some of the things that you do on a mobile basis will help your bottom line and productivity, efficiency, and some other things as well. So to introduce myself, my name is Scott Englert. I am the Director of Marketing over here at Axoft. And before we get really started and I introduce our speaker for today, I'd like to go over a couple of simple housekeeping items with y'all. And let's switch over to that. And to start off, this is a recorded event. Now, we currently are doing it live through Zoom, but once the event is over, we are going to have this available on both our website as well as our YouTube channel on axoft.com as well as Teamworks. And you're able to view it at your leisure and just go through whenever you like. If you happen to be here joining us live today, you can submit questions to us that we will be happy to answer at the end of the session. We'll have a nice short Q&A area and we'll talk about any of those types of things. And also the chat feature is open. So if you do have some questions that you'd like to chime in on in the chat that you think that we could answer right away, you can certainly do that. Or if it's something that we need to take a little bit more time on, we'll push that to the end at the Q&A session as well. All right. So without further ado, I would like to introduce today's guest to you. His name is Andrew King, and he happens to be the Vice President of Sales Operations, has worked for Axoft for 11 years, all 11 years that I've worked here, so I know Andrew very well. And he happens to love dad jokes, and being a new dad myself, I am certainly on board with that train. So welcome, Andrew. And I got to ask you, do you happen to have a swell dad joke for us to start off the session with?
Oh, absolutely. Obviously this would be familiar to anyone here at Axoft, but my first time using an elevator was such an uplifting experience, but the second time just really let me down. Just wasn't quite the same. And that's a kind of an inside one as well.
It is a little bit of an inside one.
It's a slight one.
For those of you not in the know, Andrew did happen to get stuck in our elevator for a good amount of time, and that wasn't one of his best days, that's for sure.
It was definitely a letdown, I will tell you that much.
That's right. Yeah, the elevator business, it has its ups and downs.
That's right.
Oh, that's right. All right. So fantastic. I really love a good dad joke, I gotta say. And my son is not old enough to understand them, but man, he's gonna hate me when I start laying those on him in a few years here. So all right, let's move on to today's topic, which happens to be unlocking productivity and streamlining processes. A pretty interesting topic, if I do say so myself. And we're not going to waste much time and get right into it. We like to try and keep these things moving pretty quick because we know your time is valuable and we want to just get through some pretty important and cool stuff. So we'll jump right into it, Andrew. And the first kind of question that I have for you is, what does it mean to optimize productivity and streamline processes, and why is it so essential for companies with a mobile workforce out in the field?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. What it means is to, utilize the best resources that are available to businesses, why this topic is so important, to allow them to, operate more efficiently and optimize, how they're actually maneuvering with their business operations. So having the proper tools in place, as we've seen over time, people were stuck with Blackberries, using those for business. That's then, moved into the evolution of having more apps to allow for faster and quicker data flow. So that's just the perfect spot of where we are. And what we want to see is that businesses are able to utilize those types of tools to optimize how they're operating, to increase the data flow and actually increase the speed of how the data flows back and forth, whether it be getting information pushed out to these deskless workers, as we talk about, or mobile employees, as well as then have that return of information come back to the office in a seamless and a more time effective manner, to allow these business processes to not have these hiccups and to allow them to again, operate more efficiently and get more done with less. With today's, what we've seen in the landscape today, it's even more important, because as we've noticed, just even with some recent studies, I think that, most workforces went to almost having an increase of 31% of their actual workers go to telework type of a setup due to COVID-19. And we're seeing that businesses are continuing to keep those policies in place for multiple reasons, but it's very important now having more people in the field, or more people working quote unquote remotely or from a deskless type of environment, to have those types of proper tools in order to complete their job functionality seamlessly and again efficiently as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely, and that certainly applies here at Axoft. I mean, when the pandemic originally started, a lot of us switched over to remote. That were not almost the entire company, and since things have calmed down just a little bit, a lot of changes have occurred in the company overall, with people continuing to stay remote, including myself. If you can't tell from behind me, this is actually my house, and I'm a little bit of a Lightning fan. So, so yeah, and yeah, absolutely, and those digital processes that we used it helped us tremendously. I can't even quantify how much that made a difference, with us already having that in place and being able to really make that transition over so easy and seamless. And being a manager myself, being able to pay attention to those types of things with my employees, and just making it so much easier to do so. So yeah, absolutely. That's some really great points from that point. So how does acquiring a digital solution help to increase productivity and help streamline the processes? So what's the real kind of meat and potatoes behind that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to piggyback slightly off of something you just mentioned, because again, we've seen this example from our business, going from having mostly everybody in-house or in the office to go into a remote setup. We had to rely on and utilize, the technology that we had in place for, inter-office messaging. You'd use that more frequently, and, more Zoom setups, more, Teams type of meeting setups, to where we can collaborate and still function quickly, even though we weren't just sitting across from each other or just down the hall from each other. So, looking into then, other various types of businesses where not everybody is in an office type of environment, having those types of mobile applications, or the mobile applications such as Teamworks, allows for much better communication. This is going to allow for situations where employees who previously needed to come into the office to pick up documentation or paperwork pertaining to their work details, they'll no longer have to do that. They can receive electronic notifications with that same information, on a mobile device, whether it be a tablet or a smartphone, to give them those exact work details, anything pertaining to their job that needs to be done, with the specific instructions as well. And actually what makes things better is that we can actually manage and help control the workflow. So not only is it going to allow for that better communication, but then the efficiency behind the workflows to allow for employees to fill out a form or information, and then it help direct them to the next steps, as well as make sure that the information is returned to the correct recipients back in the office or along the command chain, to make sure that the work does not slow down, it doesn't fall off and fumble somewhere to where it's just lost in existence. It'll help keep track of, again, not just the progress of the workflow better, but then the ability to control and to help how the information is being collected and being disseminated down.
Yeah, absolutely. That's some really good points there, and especially we touched a little bit on the messaging portion of it, and how we can use that to increase the kind of productivity. Are there any other ways that organizations can use digital solutions to help kind of prevent poor productivity?
Absolutely. So, again, using the example, again, employees now no longer having the need or being required to come into an office. So, timekeeping is a very big piece that is involved in that. A lot of companies have, still in office or in-house timekeeping solution, whether it be a punch clock or just coming in to log into a machine some way, somehow. Again, we're providing them the ability to have a tool, a mobile device, allow them to collect the work time from their employees, which validates it both ways. Because for an employee, they want to make sure that they're recording their correct time. And a business obviously wants to make sure they're paying out on the correct time. So having the electronic time keeping functionality will allow for not only just geocoding to make sure that an employee is clocking in and out from the correct location, but then as well as it will then more accurately capture that work time. So the days of guesstimating, thinking, oh well, I started at 8, I finished at 5. Maybe you actually started at 8:15 and got done a little early at 4:45. Every minute adds up and turns into dollars, and that can cost a company down the line with paying out incorrect time, and or for an employee, they don't want to feel like they were shorted for their actual correct work time. So that's another key area. As mentioning with the dispatching, or at least the workflow, so dispatching out work orders is a huge piece. Not only is it just great to have it as a digital function, but when you couple that within certain other features, such as our GPS, so to say, you can have a dispatcher in the office verify who would be the closest technician to a job, instead of picking up a phone and calling or texting, which can be safety issues if these employees are on the road. But now verifying just by the look, looking at our map and verifying the location of that employee, they could see where they are, who's the closest one to a job, as well as then are they available to receive that work. So it helps that processing, for the dispatcher or someone in the office, it helps their processing speed increase by tenfold by having that type of functionality and information at their fingertips, to allow them to get more work orders, sent out faster. It really also then helps increase on the customer service satisfaction side of things, when you can now start to guarantee your customers a much quicker service time or a response time to their service requests by knowing what's going on in the field at, a quick, access to the portal to see exactly where your employees are, what status or stage they are within their workday. And then again, the coupling that with forms and digital workflows, such a powerful tool to give to someone, where before in the past maybe they're trying to struggle to figure out a way to attach a photo to a spreadsheet or to some type of paper documents. Now they've got to take some handwritten documents, scan it into a scanner, try to wait till that file's on their computer, attach some photos, and then try to package everything together with a pretty bow and send it back, to where we're going to allow them to do everything in one location. Again, streamlining those processes, keeping it more efficient, cleaning up how that information is delivered, to then allow someone on that back end the ability to get in quickly, see everything in one simple file, know exactly what actions were taken, and then they can quickly see what steps they would then need to take in order to either process an invoice or push that project or whatever's being worked on to the next stage. So it's really a triple effect, when you can actually pair together the three key areas of our solution and software.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of great things that you talked about before too. When you were talking about something that it might be as simple as, okay, I started at 8, but actually it was 8:15. Got done at 1, but it was actually 12:45. That may not seem like a big deal when it comes to time clock stuff, but when we're talking about job dispatching, et cetera, if you're invoicing and billing on the customer side of things, to have that digital time that you can get down to that number and have a digital record of that, it's amazing. It really is pretty awesome to be able to provide that and have a backup of it, and be able to say, no, actually the my worker was there, and they were doing their job from this time to this time. I have a GPS record of it, when they got there, when they left, all that really amazing stuff there. And then when we talk about one of the biggest hot button issue items right now is obviously gas. And when we talk about timekeeping and somebody that doesn't have to go into the office in order to punch a clock or put their hand on a scanner or something along those lines, they can do it digitally right from the field, right when they get there. No extra wasted time, not only in doing their job, but also in gas and wear and tear on the vehicle that they may have, et cetera. They just kind of it all adds up in small ways that can be big in the end.
Absolutely. And absolutely. And that's so important right now, as you mentioned. I mean, I'm sure people are, not happy to talk about gas prices. We see the funny memes and things that'll pop up and, going on an expensive date, you're going to the gas station kind of a deal. But, it is really impactful right now with gas prices closing, around $5 a gallon just here in our Bay Area. It will make some people consider and think about what jobs are they taking. Is it worth them going back and forth and, wasting the time to, again, drop off or maybe a work order from the office or pick up a work order. So now having that ability to just say, hey, no need to come back. I'll see you, at the next company meeting or, the next company function. It makes it a lot more efficient for them to then, find ways to cut cost, to that way, again, helping their business operate more efficiently, being more streamlined, because again, every penny matters right now with everything going on in our current environment. So this is the solution for customers or companies who need to cut costs and not cut the quality of service that they're providing. This is exactly the type of solution that would have given that ability to still actually really increase the type of customer service and the quality of the work they're providing, and at the same time saving money. So it's really a win-win for them.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So not to really focus on the negative portion of things, but we've been talking a little bit about how to prevent some of the poor productivity. But what are some of the negative things that it actually causes? So we're talking like missed deadlines and customer dissatisfaction that we're talking about before. A hard time gaining new business and strong candidates for hire. That's a kind of interesting one as well. And then maybe difficulty developing a strong internal culture as well. So maybe some of those things can be really negative business impacts that productivity being poor can cause. So maybe let's maybe talk about what are some of the risks that stem from that. So
yeah, absolutely. And again, right now with companies looking, and not just companies but consumers looking to cut cost, people are ending subscriptions and looking to change up how they're shopping in the stores and the groceries and such. It's super important for a business to not lose that quality of service that they're providing as much as possible. So being able to then give their customers that sense that they are still operating at their top level is extremely huge right now. There are a lot of options out there as well as as far as vendors are concerned. So people are not as scared to go and look for another vendor. As one mistake can happen and they're going to be quick to look for a new vendor. So you want to be ahead of that. You don't want to wait for a delay in maybe a service person to come out and do a job. So again, the solution can give you helpful features to help with that. Things like customer notification, so that your customers know when a technician has been dispatched or when they're on their way, when they've arrived, when they've completed the work. And then even quite frankly, getting a quick, report of what work was performed that includes, pictures and timestamps that validates the work is so important right now. Again, people want to make sure that they're understanding that they're getting the value for the dollar that they're spending to stretch it out as much as possible. So having those features in the background to help show the additional quality of the work that's being provided is so important right now. That this is what people are looking for. People don't want to feel like, they just have to hope and wish that things will go well. There's a saying that's out there: it's the trust but verify. We want your customers to have that trust, but then we're giving you that ability to allow them to verify the work that's been performed as it's being done. So that's very huge. And again, it really goes to adding to that extra customer service kind of feel and effect to make sure you're giving them that supreme white glove treatment as much as possible. And again, at a fraction of the cost that, may have taken you to do something more manually or using some old school processes. So something that's actually very helpful as well is, customer facing forms or links, that these are pieces that our solution can actually, actually put in place for a business to where they're having their customers interact with them a lot better and a lot more efficiently as well. For a customer to go and, quickly click on a link that will take them to a form that can collect information that's pertaining to maybe a job or a request that they would like to submit to that company. Again, with reduction in the employees in certain spaces, for one reason or another, it's very important to not allow that to impact the quality of service a business is providing. So, if you don't have as many people in your office that can take a call, having the customer fill out a form to where you're still receiving that information, and then you can put it into a queue to make sure that their request has been received, answered, and responded to, is a helpful tool to ensure that nothing is falling off the plate. God forbid, no one wants to, be so overburdened that they're taking calls, they writing down notes, and then oh gosh, I forgot to get back to Scott about that, that pool cleaning that he wanted next week. And then Scott's sitting there looking like, hey, I never got a call back about getting my pool cleaned. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go call the next pool cleaner that I know, will pick up my business right away and come and take care of things. Matter of fact, they're using a great digital platform like Teamworks to ensure that they're not missing work that's being provided to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you made a good point about, the quality, and that's one of the kind of somewhat immeasurable things that can companies can increase during a time like this, where maybe the some of the hardships of the prices going up has now been passed on to the customer, but if they can increase the quality, it doesn't feel as heavy of a burden, with the higher prices. And, so I think that really is kind of a somewhat immeasurable, but at the same time, it's like, that's what makes customers lifelong customers.
Exactly.
Getting that service is, maybe you can go with the cheapest guy who doesn't cost you a whole lot, but their service is awful and you can never count on them, and you never know if you're going to hear from them or get the work done when you need it to be done. It's not a great experience, and it's
no, not at all.
Most people,
and especially when it can cost you more in the long run by you trying to wait too long to get something repaired. It may have started off with a smaller issue, now it's grown into a much bigger issue. So yeah, that's definitely not something people want.
And when you really need them at that point in time, you want to be able to have somebody that you trust and you can count on. So quality of service is huge. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
one thing else as well is convenience is key. There's two things that I think most people want in today's world is, the convenience factor. I think, most of us can admit that we live off of convenience. We want that quick and easy, and then quality, so yes, you want it to be as convenient as possible, but then you don't want to sacrifice too much, if any, quality to have that convenience. So that's something we do quite well, is couple the two to give that convenient feel and then not take away from the quality of the work that's going to be provided.
Yeah, absolutely. So earlier, you kind of alluded to a customer potentially jumping over to a different business that has possibly Teamworks. I noticed that you slipped that in there. You may have been a sales guy, huh? I don't know. So that's a perfect segue into so how could Teamworks come into play with enhancing productivity and streamlining processes, from an actual the product standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest things to kind of note on that is that what Teamworks encompasses, it's a solution that, again, we've kind of teased on this, but it allows for you to do timekeeping, work order dispatching, forms for data collection, and that's immeasurable. That we don't have limitations to how we collect the data or the number of form modules a customer can set up. Customer facing forms, again, so there are forms that your employees can use to collect data. There are forms that your customers can use to submit data. Those notifications, the fact that we can collect payments for companies that have people in the field that are doing service responsibilities to where they also have to collect payment from a customer. And then to couple in, then one of the other, the cherry on the top is the fact that you can also have a vehicle or asset tracking solution coupled in with this. It gives you an all-inclusive solution. So instead of having to go out and be a customer of maybe 3 to 5 different vendors to run your business, you're now able to work with one vendor that can manage all of the pieces to your business as you need. And quite frankly, if it hasn't really registered yet, when you're consolidating the number of vendors you need, For one, it helps with the amount of time that you're spending to learn a solution for one and implement a solution. But the biggest piece is that you're saving in costs by not having to have all those operational costs for multiple different vendors to do, everything that your business needs to run. And so that's another reason why this is extremely important, because again, with companies looking for ways to, again, minimize operational costs, streamline their business, but not sacrifice on the quality of the service we're providing, the solution like Teamworks is uber important, where again, it can do pretty much everything that a business needs to operate and run within one solution, instead of having to go out and find multiple, maybe this one does this for me for my vehicle tracking, and I've got a work order management system over here. And after you start to realize you're piling up those bills just to, kind of operate, where again, streamlining that process into one solution will allow for you to get the same functionality, same, in most cases, actually better quality of work, and then save money at the same time. So going back to your point, not having to maybe tax the end customer as much to still provide that same level of service, if not even better level of service.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure, for sure. So I think we're getting close to running up on time here. So we're actually going to switch over to the audience question portion of things. And I have a lovely slide here that just says questions. So it took me forever to put that one together.
So a lot of details.
Yeah. So let's jump into the first one here. Somebody asked, how do I ensure that my employees are staying productive if they're working away from the office?
Absolutely. So a couple of things that can help out in that case. If they're an employee that should be out in the field, maybe checking in with other customers or just performing work in the field, the geo stamps or the geo locations will give you verification of where that employee spent their day throughout the day. We have some great features within there. So if they're actually also submitting information, you will be able to marry that with the GPS information. So that way you can see, where did they submit that information? Was it done correctly on a job site, or were they just sitting at home, pretending to be working? So that's a huge piece of it. Having worker statuses, so things that are attached to what their jobs is in the functionality that they should be doing, will let you see where they are within the course of their day and what they should be doing. So we give you full visibility into what's going on in your employee's day within our dashboard, within the features that we can provide.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great answer. Great answer. Okay, and one more here. What are I'm going to paraphrase this just a little bit and say, so can you give a specific example of a business that was able to kind of streamline in order to increase output? So I don't know if you have any a specific example, but maybe you can kind of give an example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of my favorite ones. I don't know if I can disclose the business's name. I haven't got permission, but we work with a medical company that specializes in delivering pharmaceutical, I was to say nuclear pharmaceuticals, excuse me. And so to give you the background, the situation they were running into was that they were having trouble mitigating the mistakes of having the incorrect materials or prescriptions dropped off at an incorrect location. With our solution, we were able to put in a process that became a proof of delivery. So with the geocoding tied to then the dispatching, we were able to verify, hey, is this actual work order at this location? So if what they experienced in the past was that they would drop off a package and they would realize, maybe an hour or so later, oh, that was the incorrect location. It would then obviously affect the course of work to have to go back around, pick up that package, to then take it to the next location. And that's just affecting their work order load, not to mention what was happening to the customer. So our solution was able to, when they would go to verify and drop off a package, it was able to quickly check and say, yes, this is the correct location. No worries, you're good to go. Leave this here. Or wait a minute, this is the incorrect location. Verify the package that you have in the location and make sure you're dropping it off at the correct location. So that saved them hours upon hours of work per day, per week, per employee. And their customer, they have around 300, maybe almost close to 400 employees in the field, doing these types of deliveries. So you can imagine how quickly that can get out of control.
Oh, yeah.
And we were able to help them mitigate that by putting in, a proof of delivery setup that now, ensures that the packages that they are dropping off are at the correct location. It is the correct package, and they're not having, to worry about those mistakes of rerouting somebody to go pick up a package, that was left at the incorrect location, which cost them hours for one, paying the employee overtime, fuel cost, and then a dissatisfied customer. So that's probably one of the best examples that I can provide.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really cool story. I don't actually know the company that you're talking about, but I'd like to learn more about it. That's really cool.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
So we are coming up on time here. So I did want to thank everybody for attending as well as thank our amazing speaker. You really, I can, your knowledge, obviously, from being here as long as my oldness has been, really shows in our discussion. And I really thank you for jumping in and helping us with some of the questions and giving us just some great information. So
Absolutely.
one final point that we wanted to give to you guys is to let you just know that we are currently running a campaign and a sort of promotion, I guess would you could call it, where you can get 14 days of Teamworks for absolutely free. And one of the coolest things about it is it's not a limited version of the software. It's not like a light version of it. It's the whole enchilada. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So all of the things that we talked about today that Andrew, discussed with the messaging, the timekeeping, job dispatching, wireless forms, all those huge things that really could make a big difference are available for you for free for 14 days. So if you're looking to try it out and you just want to give it a whirl, this is a great way to do so. You can do that by going to our website, and up at the top there's a link for it. Or if you'd like to go to the address that's on the screen here, axoff.com/try Teamworks for free, you can do that as well. And it's a real quick setup, nice and easy, and get you on your way to try out the software and see how it can help you in the long run. So,
and I'll add to that as well. So, and if you are interested in trying out the free 14-day trial, we do allow for you guys also to get a free consultation on the solution. So that way we make sure that the solution is best fitting to your needs. So you're able to speak with one of our solutions and business consultants to make sure, again, we are proposing the correct features and functionality that your business needs. And we'll also help you with the setup of that account to make sure you see the best value of it coming out the gate.
Absolutely. Yes. That's one of the biggest things that we try and push with our Teamworks is we really have that sort of white glove treatment that you were talking about before. We really try to make sure that the quality that you're receiving from a support standpoint, that we're going to set you up correctly, is essential. And we really do believe that. So that's definitely a big part of it. All right. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you joining. And if you're watching on the recorded, we appreciate you watching as well. And until next month, thank you so much for joining us on today's Tech Talk. All right. Take care.